Well, welcome to Southwest. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. I'll talk for about the next half hour, giving an overview of our company here in Maricopa County as well as statewide. And recently, about a year ago, we began providing services in New Mexico, and I'll talk about that a little bit as well. So obviously, we're a very large company. We have a total of 19 outpatient clinics here in Arizona, 13 outpatient clinics in New Mexico under a different corporate name. There we go by Agave Health Services. And of course, services, as I mentioned, throughout northern Arizona. The best way for me to describe our services is to break them into three components. Prevention services, services for the seriously mentally ill, and outpatient services. We have many other programs and funding sources, way too many to review today, so I'll touch on the major areas where we provide services. I'll start first with prevention. We have staff in about 40 to 45 schools here in Maricopa County. In addition to providing staff at the schools, we have a Chandler Center, which is a kind of a multi-purpose center affiliated with the Chandler School District. Staff who are located in schools typically are assigned to one school, or in some cases they're assigned to a couple of schools. Their primary purpose is to be a resource to the teacher, student, and family. As a resource to the school, they'll help the teacher if the teacher has problems managing a classroom, if the teacher has identified a kid who may have behavioral health issues, if they just need some ideas on how to better manage the classroom. We see a number of kids at the school setting, kids who are referred typically by the teachers. We'll assess them, and sometimes we can simply work with the kid and the teacher in the school setting. In other cases, we may have to refer the kid to an outpatient clinic, and there with the family they'll see a psychiatrist and it may need medication. So in addition to being a resource to the teacher, our staff also provides psychoeducational classes, education for the students. Our primary goal and that of the school is to try and improve the graduation rate. Dropout rate here in metropolitan Phoenix is quite high, in particular for Hispanic males, where it's been above 50% in the city of Phoenix proper. So we're trying to impact that by giving kids better skills, options, alternatives, supporting the teachers, supporting the schools. Another area where, speaking of the Chandler Center came about 5 years ago. The Chandler School District realized that many kids were undocumented, or they may be citizens and their parents were undocumented. And several kids needed health care, and some needed behavioral health care. So in conjunction with Banner Hospital, Catholic Charities, Southwest, and a few other entities, they developed the Chandler Center, which was on school property, and it's a building which serves children who are uninsured, provides them with health care. So Banner will rotate doctors through the Chandler Center. The Arizona Dental Association rotates dentists through. They have a dental clinic at that site. St. Mary's Food Bank opened up a food bank at that site, and we're also located there. It's been very popular. Kids who have needed health care and behavioral health have finally received those services. And in fact, we've been invited by both the Tempe, Kyrene, and just recently the Murphy school districts to duplicate what we did in Chandler. It's something that we don't advertise widely, nor does the Chandler School District, because of political reasons and some persons who may be vocal opponents of something like this. But our interest is simply in providing behavioral health services to persons who need it, and in this case, kids in the Chandler School District area. So that, in a nutshell, is the prevention services that we provide. Currently, we do not provide any prevention services in northern Arizona or in New Mexico, but we may in the future. Outpatient clinics is the area where we serve the most persons. Here in Arizona, we have about 5,000 adults and about 5,000 kids receiving services. on any given day. And again, as I mentioned, that is in 18 different outpatient clinics throughout the state. Many of the clinics were mentioned here today: Broadway, Metro Center, Buckeye. We have a clinic in Apache Junction, Mesa, a few here in Central Phoenix. We also have outpatient clinics in Flagstaff, Prescott Valley, Kingman, Lake Havasu, and Bullhead City. Actually 4 of the 18 sites serve adults only, and that's because those clinics provide opioid replacement therapy. It's generically known as methadone maintenance, and that's for persons who have been addicted to opioids, which includes heroin, but increasingly includes prescription medication. In fact, in Bullhead City, when I visited there about 4 or 5 months ago, more than 50% of the persons they see at what had been termed a methadone clinic are persons addicted to prescription medication. It's not growing quite as fast here, the number that is, in Phoenix, but in Bullhead City it's a major problem. And in fact, we recently reached an agreement to create a residential treatment program in that city, and we'll be opening that up the first or second week of September. So at the opioid replacement clinics, they have very early hours beginning at 5 a.m. Many of the people that we provide dosing to have jobs or are students, and methadone allows them to function and have a meaningful day and week in life. But many people who are in methadone will choose to detox at some point in their life. Some succeed, for others the craving comes back and they need methadone on an ongoing basis. The other outpatient clinics see adults and kids. Let me talk about kids first and our approach with kids. We see kids at all ages. In fact, we see kids in some cases shortly after birth, where a developmental disability or potential problem has been identified by the pediatrician. There, obviously, we work with the parents in providing the parents training, skills, and support so they can better raise their child, help their child reach their maximum capabilities. In other cases, we'll see a 17-year-old, 18-year-old. Many of the people that we see come to us for a situational type of behavioral health issue. It might be related to divorce of their parents or a traumatic event that's happened in the household. And in those cases, they may only need to be seen by our counselors a few times. In other cases, as I mentioned, the kids and other children who are referred to us at a young age. In some cases, their challenges and behavioral health needs are so significant that they'll be with us until they turn 18, and some convert into the system for the seriously mentally ill. So it's really a wide range. I want to talk a little bit about the approach to children's services in Arizona. It's no longer new. It's been around for about 10, 11 years. It was originally an approach that was designed by a guy named Vandenberg out of the University of Wisconsin. It's a very different approach than the way behavioral health had treated kids and families in the past. Basically, our approach is to say to the family, and in some cases, in fact, in many cases, with the persons we serve, the kids are being raised by another family member, grandparents, aunts, uncles, some are in foster care. Quite a number of families that we serve are not the typical nuclear family due to parents having drug-related issues or just a variety of things that have occurred in their lives, and they have alternative caregivers for the kids. But our approach is to say to the caregiver, what can we do to help you care for your child? And it's that type of customer service approach, that type of approach at being creative and how we can help that family that has really made a substantial difference. For example, sometimes we'll have a parent who comes in and says, you need to get this kid out of my house. I have no time for my family, I have no time to address other issues. They're causing too much stress, too much disruption, just get them out of my house. Well, We try to avoid out-of-home placement in group homes or institutions as much as possible. It's not a good alternative. In some cases, it's necessary when kids are acting out and are too difficult to manage. But what we try to do is provide support for the family. So we may send a behavior coach into the family home, and I heard a couple of people mention that they're behavior coaches. The behavior coach works with both the family and the child in developing goals, structure, reinforcement, so the parent can hopefully better manage the child at home. In other cases, we'll offer services in the community. There have been many cases where by offering the family respite, that is saying, you can drop your kid off at a site down the street where we have behavioral health professionals on Tuesday and Thursday nights, or maybe on a Saturday. It'll give you time to take care of other things in your life, other business in your life. And that alone has been enough in many cases for families to say, you know, I can handle this if I have a break, if I have a little bit of time to take care of other things. So this has been extremely successful in Arizona, very popular in Arizona. In fact, for the Medicaid population, and most of the kids that we serve are under Medicaid insurance, the national average for out-of-home placement is 8%. 8% of the kids seen by companies like ours across the country are typically in group homes or institutions. It's a very high percentage. In Arizona, it typically is under 2%. In some cases, with Southwest, it's been 0.5%. So that really summarizes our success. We've done a good job of supporting families and caring for their children in their home environment. We're very proud of that, and I think it's catching on throughout the country. I know it is catching on throughout the country, and I think will become a more common model over time. There are many other aspects to that approach that too numerous to talk about today. On the adult side, again, we see many adults on a monthly basis. The adults that come to us, typically it's a situational issue, and again, it might be a person who's contemplating leaving a marriage or leaving a significant other, relationship type issue. In other cases, it's been a traumatic event. Some persons come to us because they're severely depressed or have substance abuse issues, anxiety disorders. Many persons, many adults that we see are seen for a relatively short period of time, 3, 5, 6 visits. There are some persons, especially those with depression and anxiety disorders, who need medication, who may be with us for several years, primarily to receive medication to alleviate their symptoms. But there's a lot of turnover on the adult side of business. Finally, the third area and final area that I'll talk about related to our programs are services for the seriously mentally ill. That employs the greatest number of people, but we only serve a couple of thousand people a year in that category. And that's because the services for those persons are very intensive. And we have the whole range of services. We have 2 facilities that are very much like hospitals. They're called the Crisis Recovery Unit. Each has 16 beds. They're locked, 24-hour nursing, psychiatrists on duty every day, available 24 hours, and intensive staffing. It's intended to be a setting for persons who are a danger to themselves. Occasionally we have somebody who might be a danger to somebody else, but a person who's in crisis and needs intensive care. However, the patients that we serve at that site typically reconstitute, stabilize within 5 to 7 days. It's a pretty quick turnaround. And after that time, they're released back in the community with follow-up care. Some people will have to stay longer, and we have some residential sites that we can refer them to for ongoing support. So that is the most intensive end of the spectrum for the seriously mentally ill. On the other end of the spectrum, we have in-home services. Staff will stop by somebody's house to check in on them, see that they're following their medication as prescribed, see if they have any other needs. Sometimes we'll stop in once a week, other times once a day, depends on the person's needs. And in between those 2 ends of the spectrum, we have several housing and residential programs for the seriously mentally ill. In fact, we have about 400 persons living in housing that we've acquired over the years. In some cases, those are houses, other cases, apartments, apartment complexes. And the housing that we provide is at a subsidized rate so that it's affordable for those persons. At some of those sites, we'll have 8-plex or a 4-plex or a 6-plex where we have staff on site 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the persons living there have intensive supervision. And in other cases, they'll be living in a large apartment complex scattered among other tenants, and we have staff on hand to support as needed. So again, in summary, for the seriously mentally ill, our range in services depends on the person's needs, and we tailor services accordingly. And if somebody needs less supervision, we back off that supervision, or maybe they move on to a different setting where they live more independently. Let me talk a little bit about New Mexico before I talk about the values of our company. We went into New Mexico back in July of 2013, a little over a year ago. We were invited there due to allegation of massive Medicaid fraud, billing fraud by some 15 not-for-profit behavioral health companies in New Mexico. We ended up being located, as I mentioned earlier, in 13 different cities. Of the companies that were under investigation for fraud, several of their employees came and worked for us. Right now we have about 330 employees at various locations there. In New Mexico, we primarily provide children's services. We have some services for the seriously mentally ill in Albuquerque and Los Lunas. But we apply the same philosophy, same type of design in New Mexico as we do here in Arizona, and we intend to stay there. And we don't provide any SMI residential, just SMI outpatient at that site. As I had mentioned, we have many contracts, many programs that are really too numerous to mention in this brief time. But one I would like to touch on briefly, and that is our Homeless Outreach Program, also called PATH. PATH is an acronym for the federal grant that we receive. The reason why I single out the PATH program is that that gets more publicity than all of our other programs combined. In fact, Ken Curry, the cameraman back there, is the director of the PATH program and has been for close to 20 years. Yeah. But the PATH program does a fabulous job. We get a lot of press, especially in the hottest days of the summer when TV crews like to ride along and see how the homeless are surviving and trying to adapt in the heat. And also around the holidays, they'll typically do a ride along to do a story about the homeless and those struggling to get off the street, struggling with really not much of anything. But the purpose of the PATH program is to identify persons who might be eligible for services by being seriously mentally ill. It's a very challenging program because in some cases, in fact in many cases, the persons that they encounter are struggling. Some may be paranoid, delusional, and it may take months and months to develop a relationship to the point that we can talk the person into having an assessment and maybe receiving additional services. They do a wonderful job. So I have no doubt over the next year you'll see or read or see something on TV regarding our PATH program. Okay. I'll wrap up by talking about values, 3 important values here at Southwest. First of all, we're a not-for-profit company. That means that we act like a business. We have to make more revenue than expenses to stay in business, but the profit does not go to me, it does not go to shareholders, but rather we save it, we reinvest it, or we may put it into services that are not otherwise available in the community. We have a board of directors of 10 to 12 people. They volunteer and meet with us on a monthly basis. We provide them with a wide range of reports on finance, programs, satisfaction surveys, They help us create the direction and strategy for our company looking down the road. Our board, in many cases, are persons who have had mental illness affect them or their family directly. For example, one of our board of directors was a hospital administrator for some 30 years. And that experience is very helpful in advising us with, at Southwest. But also his father was hospitalized when this man was 4 years old. And his only memories of his father were visiting him at the state hospital. And his father died in an institution in the 1950s. So this man is very dedicated, compassionate, and wants to do something in return to help mental health in this community. And many of our board members have stories similar or different, but related in some way with mental health. The board also evaluates me on an annual basis, and our staff provides feedback to our staff. So they are, in essence, the conscience of who we are. Another value I want to share is the fact that we encourage people to look at Southwest as a career opportunity. I've been with Southwest a long time, actually approaching 27 years now. I've been CEO for 20 years. I had been promoted a couple of times over my first 7 years before I became president. But I'm living proof that we like to promote from within the company. And we encourage you, after you've been here for 6 months and have completed your probationary period, if you're looking for advancement, we have job openings. We have about 900 staff currently in Arizona. And of course, you will have opportunities in New Mexico too if you would choose to look at that. But there are a lot of opportunities within the company. We have a number of staff who have been promoted and who have been here greater than 20 years. Some have been here longer than 30 years. And it also makes sense if you pause and think about it for a moment. We prefer to recruit from within because the staff that we recruit from within the company have been trained, know our company, we know them, we know what their skills and qualities are. It's worked out very well. Now, sometimes there simply aren't enough applicants to recruit from within. Obviously, you're all an example of that, and we do, of course, hire many people from outside the company every year. And finally, the third value I want to talk about is the fact that we conduct surveys every year with the persons that we serve, the consumers, the funding sources, companies that pay us, and also with all of our staff. In fact, each of you will receive a survey via email in September. It's a satisfaction survey, and the survey will be sent by an outside company. We do that because we want you to feel confident that whatever you say in the survey, because we want honest feedback, will be confidential, anonymous. And the reason why we want honest feedback is the best way for us to learn how we're doing as a company. The survey has 13 different categories, and you'll be asked questions on a Likert scale of 1 to 5, like, dislike, to rate your fellow staff, your supervisor, the work environment, resources, amenities, quality of the program where you are working. We aggregate all of that data and then we publish it. It'll be in a newsletter that comes out probably in November called Perspectives. The feedback that we've received from staff has been very helpful in making changes that improve our services, in making and identifying issues that we may not have known previously. And also it gives us confidence that we're doing the right thing once we receive those scores. In fact, the last several years, we compare our staff satisfaction survey scores with that of 120 companies around the country. And we've rated higher than the average in all 13 categories for several years. So we're very pleased by those results. And again, it's a situation that it makes common sense. If we have staff that have good supervision, are satisfied with their work environment, and have confidence in the services we provide, we'll retain staff longer, we'll have a better service, we'll have more satisfied customers. So it's a self-perpetuating process that improves our services. So you'll be receiving that again in September of this year. There are two things I want to mention before closing. In the next couple of minutes, in fact, the person I was going to refer to, nope, he's not coming in. Hi, Gabe. I thought you might be E, but...
I'm filling in for him.
Okay. We have a new employee, E, who was an intern previously. In fact, we have two young ladies here as well, who are interns from Chinese University. In fact, they graduated here in the United States from a graduate school, but previously had received their bachelor's from CIAS University in China. We've had an affiliation with that university since 2008. We've provided training to their staff counseling center there on campus. They have about 26,000 students, and now we've expanded it to 2 additional universities. We'll be sending 2 psychologists to Zhengzhou and CIAS University, as well as Zhengzhou University this coming weekend, and they'll provide training for about 2 weeks. They also have provided training to a mental health hospital there in that city. And we plan to expand our training to more universities in China. It's been a great experience for our staff. It's excellent reward. Our staff have loved going there, having the experience, and we've rotated a variety of staff to provide that training. In addition, the Chinese universities send students here for about 2 weeks in February to receive additional training on behavioral health. So that's a fun experience for us, and we've had great interns. In fact, the 2 young ladies here are our 16th and 17th interns that we've had from CIAS University. And finally, the future of behavioral health. We're in a period of time with the implementation of Obamacare, and with that, Medicaid expanded here in the state of Arizona. In fact, expanded substantially. Before January 1st of this year, Medicaid eligibility was at 100% of the federal poverty line, and it would be adjusted by family size. Effective January 1st, it bumped up to 138. In fact, it had dropped down to 38% for a short time when the state had difficulty balancing the budget, so there was a major drop in the number of persons being served. Now it's kicked up. So virtually at every site, every city, every location, our business is growing and continuing to grow as more and more people are eligible for Medicaid services. So you're joining us at a time in which the company's growing. This type of behavioral health service is increasing in demand. And I expect that to be the case for at least the next 12 months, maybe 15 months. That concludes my brief overview of Southwest. Do you have any questions? Yes?
Can you tell us about yourself and your background?
Yeah, I have a University of Arizona master's degree in health administration. I had worked in behavioral health a variety of places while I was going to college. I worked part-time. Worked at a state hospital, worked at a kids' residential setting, worked with the seriously mentally ill. In fact, when I was initially a staff here, I also did domestic violence counseling, substance abuse counseling with another company at night after working here. So I have a wide range of experience with behavioral health. And I really love my job, love this company. We've grown a lot. We have a wide range of services, and we always are looking for new opportunities. So pretty much any idea that comes up, we'll take a serious look at it and see if it's something that we can do well. Other questions? Okay, again, thanks for joining us, and I'll probably see all of you sometime throughout the next year. If you're here in administration where my office is located, I'll see you much more often, obviously, but I try to get out to the sites at least once a year. Again, thanks for joining us.